The fragile peace Alex had finally begun to feel crumbled in the blink of an eye. Morning headlines screamed the impossible. Crown Prince of Laurent discovered hiding among students at Eastwood University. His phone buzzed endlessly as notifications piled up, articles, press inquiries, even calls from his family. Alex sat at the edge of his bed, staring blankly at his phone. Each article was more invasive than the last. One headline was bad enough, dozens of them made his carefully concealed life unravel before his eyes. He clenched his fists as his grandfather's number flashed on the screen. Answering it seemed impossible. Would the old man even listen before descending into fury? Instead, he turned off the phone, flung it onto the bed, and buried his face in his hands. His mind churned. Who knew? Who could have done this? The answer, cruel and sharp, struck him with terrifying clarity. Lian. Lian had only just entered the cafe near campus, laptop under his arm, when the whispers reached him. "Did you hear?" "About Alex, or should I say, the prince?" Lian froze, confusion knitting his brow. Approaching a group of gossiping students, he caught sight of the open news articles on their phones. His stomach dropped. The truth, Alex's truth, was out, splashed across every digital outlet imaginable. "No way," he whispered to himself, the color draining from his face. The realization hit him. This is bad. This is really bad. Immediately, Lian rushed out of the cafe and headed straight for Alex's dorm room. He knew he had to explain himself, assure Alex that he had nothing to do with the leak. When Lian arrived at Alex's room, the door slammed open before he could even knock. "You!" Alex's voice was filled with fury, his face a mask of hurt and betrayal. "Alex, wait!" Lian began, holding his hands up defensively. "Don't you dare!" Alex's voice cracked with anger. You did this, didn't you?" Lian took a step back, stunned. "What are you talking about? I didn't—" "Don't lie to me!" Alex roared, the emotions he'd been holding back finally spilling over. "You're the only one who knew. The only one, Lian." "Alex, I swear to you, I didn't tell anyone," Lian said, his voice frantic, trying to pierce through the storm of anger. Alex let out a bitter laugh, his eyes cold. "Right, it was just a scoop to you, wasn't it? A story, something you could use to boost your career, to show the world how clever you are." "Stop!" Lian shouted, his own voice shaking now. "You know that's not true." "Do I?" Alex asked, stepping closer. The pain in his voice was sharper than any accusation. "Do I really, Lian? You chase secrets. You dig until you get the story you want. Why wouldn't this be any different?" Lian's chest tightened. "Because you're not just a story to me, Alex. I wouldn't do this to you. Don't!" Alex snapped, cutting him off. "Don't say another word." His jaw tightened, his eyes glassy, but still burning with anger. "I trusted you, and you—" He faltered, the words catching in his throat before forcing them out. "You betrayed me." Lian was frozen, his hands shaking as he tried to breathe. "Please, Alex, you have to believe me." "I don't," Alex said flatly, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. He stepped back, shaking his head as if trying to clear his thoughts. "I don't ever want to see you again." "Alex," Lian pleaded, stepping forward, but Alex turned his back to him. "Leave." Lian stood there for a moment, his eyes glistening as tears threatened to spill. "After all," Alex added coldly, without turning around, "it was just a scoop, a story for you." The words pierced through Lian's chest like a knife, leaving him paralyzed. Finally, unable to bear the weight of Alex's words, he turned and left. Lian stumbled back to his own dorm, barely aware of his surroundings. Every word Alex had said replayed in his mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. He sank onto the floor, his back against the door, and dropped his head into his hands. The tears came suddenly and violently. His chest ached, his breathing uneven. How could he think that? He whispered to himself. Elena, his best friend, found him an hour later. She dropped her bag on the floor and knelt beside him. Lian, what happened? Lian looked up, his face pale and streaked with tears. He thinks I did it. He thinks I betrayed him. What? Elena's eyes widened. Alex? He actually said that? He hates me, Lian choked out. And after everything, I'd never, Hey, no. Elena grabbed his shoulders firmly, forcing him to meet her gaze. This isn't you, okay? You're not that kind of person, and he'll see that. He has to. What if he doesn't? Lian whispered, his voice trembling. Elena sighed, her expression softening. Then we'll make him see. I'm not letting this misunderstanding destroy you. Or him. Back in his dorm, Alex sat by the window, the glowing city lights a blur through his watery gaze. The initial surge of anger had ebbed, leaving behind an overwhelming emptiness. He stared at his phone. His family had called dozens of times. He hadn't answered a single one. The fear of their disappointment loomed over him like a dark cloud, but it was nothing compared to the ache in his chest when he thought about Lian. His mind replayed their confrontation, the desperate look in Lian's eyes as he tried to defend himself. But then, the headlines flashed through his thoughts again. The way the articles knew every detail, his full name, his connection to the throne, even his agreement with his grandfather. Details that only one person could have known. Why? Alex whispered to himself. Why would you do this, Lian? He rubbed his temples, frustration and doubt battling for control. A small part of him, buried beneath the hurt and anger, wanted to believe Lian's words, to believe that the one person he'd let in wasn't the one to destroy everything. But trusting again felt impossible. Over the following days, the fallout from the leak grew. Reporters swarmed the campus, classmates whispered whenever Alex walked by, and rumors only multiplied. Lian tried to reach out, leaving messages and waiting by places he thought Alex might go, but each attempt was met with silence. Alex avoided him completely, shutting himself off from the world, as the walls around his heart rebuilt themselves, brick by painful brick. Elena urged Lian not to give up, but with each passing day, his hope dimmed. The betrayal, real-less or not, had created a chasm between them that seemed impossible to cross. Lian sat in the quiet library, the glow of his laptop illuminating his exhausted face. His eyes skimmed article after article, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he pieced together what had happened. Who would do this? How could they have known? Lian muttered to himself. The question gnawed at him. He knew he hadn't leaked Alex's secret, but someone had. Someone who wanted Alex's life turned upside down. It wasn't long before his search bore fruit. A thread on a gossip forum mentioned sightings of Kira meeting with an anonymous journalist weeks before the story broke. The timeline was perfect. Lian froze, his blood running cold. Kyra, he whispered under his breath, disbelief mingling with anger. Finding Kira wasn't difficult. She loved to be in the spotlight, especially when Alex wasn't around. She was at a local cafe, flipping through a fashion magazine. The sight of her sitting there, so smug and composed, sent a wave of fury through Lian. Kira. She looked up, startled at the sharp edge in his voice. Then her lips curled into a smirk. Oh, it's you. What do you want, Zhang? Come to beg me to stop being better than you? Lian stepped closer, lowering his voice. You leaked Alex's secret, didn't you? Her smirk faltered for a second, just long enough for Lian to see the truth in her eyes before she regained her composure. I don't know what you're talking about, she said breezily, but there was a calculated edge to her tone. You sold him out to the press, Lian pressed, his anger bubbling just beneath the surface. How could you do that to him? He trusted you. He called you his friend. Kira's expression hardened, her voice dripping with venom. Friend? Do you have any idea what it's like being tossed aside for someone like you? I've been by Alex's side for years, and then you waltz in with your annoying little smile, your nosy questions, and suddenly he's drawn to you. Lian clenched his fists. This was never about me. You ruined his life because you couldn't stand him getting close to someone else? Kira stood, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Her voice dropped, turning cold. You think you know Alex, but you don't. He's a prince, Lian. He has obligations you can't begin to understand. He belongs to someone like me, not... She gestured dismissively at him. Whatever it is you are. You don't decide who he belongs to, Lian snapped. And if you think this is going to make him want you, you're more delusional than I thought. Kira's expression twisted with anger. What's done is done, she said with finality. Run to him if you want, but we both know whose side he's going to take. Fueled by the confrontation, Lian rushed to find Alex. His heart pounded as he knocked on the door of Alex's dorm. Alex opened it, his face neutral, but his eyes wary. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you, Lian said, urgency threading his words. Alex sighed, stepping aside reluctantly. Make it quick. Before Lian could speak, Kira appeared from the hallway, sauntering into the room as though she owned the space. She placed a hand on Alex's arm, smiling sweetly. Alex, she purred, everything okay here? Lian's stomach dropped, but he pressed forward. Alex, she's the one who leaked your secret. I have proof. What? Alex frowned, his gaze shifting to Kira. Kira? Kira's eyes widened, feigning shock. Me? How could you even suggest that? She met with journalists, Lian insisted, his voice steady. There are forums with posts about her, tipping off the press, weeks before the article came out. Alex's expression grew conflicted as he glanced between the two. Kira? I can't believe this, Kira gasped, pressing a hand dramatically to her chest. Alex, how can you even listen to him after everything he's done to you? Lian took a step forward. Alex, please. She's manipulating you. Look at the timing. She was jealous of... Jealous of what? Kira interrupted, her voice quivering with mock outrage. She turned to Alex, tears glistening in her eyes. Alex, how can you let him accuse me of this? You know how much I care about you. Why would I ever hurt you? Alex's jaw tightened. Stop, both of you. Lian felt the moment slipping away. He turned to Alex, desperation in his voice. Alex, you know I didn't do this. Please, you have to believe me. But before Alex could answer, Kira clutched her arm dramatically. Ouch! She yelped, stumbling back. What's going on? Alex asked, his eyes narrowing. He grabbed me, Kira exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I tried to tell him to stop harassing you, and he grabbed me. Lian stared at her, stunned. What are you talking about? I never... Stop it, Alex barked, his voice sharp. He stepped protectively in front of Kira. I've heard enough. Alex, I didn't touch her, Lian shouted, his voice breaking. She's lying. She's been lying to you this whole time. I can't deal with this right now, Alex snapped. His gaze turned cold as he looked at Lian. You need to leave. Alex, please. Lian tried again, but the icy wall in Alex's eyes stopped him. I trusted you, Alex said, his voice low. But every time I let you in, something else goes wrong. I can't do this anymore. Lian walked away, the weight of Alex's words crushing him. He didn't even know where he was going. His feet moved on their own as tears blurred his vision. Why won't you believe me? He whispered to himself, his voice cracking under the weight of his despair. At the corner of the campus, he stopped and looked back in the direction of Alex's dorm. He stood there for a moment, his chest heaving, before finally wiping his tears and walking away. Back inside, Alex sat on the edge of his bed, his head in his hands. Kira placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, but he pulled away. Alex? Kira began softly. Just go, Alex said, his voice hollow. Alex, Go, he snapped. Kira retreated, but a flicker of triumph danced in her eyes. Alone, Alex stared at the floor, doubt creeping into his mind. Somewhere deep down, he wanted to believe Lian, wanted to trust him. But trust had burned him too many times, and the scars it left were too fresh. As he sat in silence, the storm outside mirrored the one inside his chest. Lian walked into his usual cafe, the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. It was supposed to be a place of comfort, but today the whispers among the students carried an unexpected chill. "Did you hear? Alex Laurent's leaving," a voice murmured nearby. Lian froze mid-step, his heart clenching. Leaving? Why? Leaning closer to the table of gossipers, he listened intently. "They say it's because of his grandfather's health," another voice replied. "He's a big deal, right? Connected to some royal family?" Lian stepped back, his heart racing. He needed to confirm this. Without hesitation, he ran out, his coffee forgotten, and made his way toward Alex's dormitory. The halls of the dormitory felt unusually empty as Lian approached Alex's room. The door was ajar, the sound of shuffling footsteps coming from inside. Slowly, Lian stepped through the threshold. Alex stood in the middle of the room, his once vibrant space now barren and cold. Suitcases lined the floor as he methodically packed the last of his belongings into a box. "You're really leaving?" Lian blurted, his voice trembling. Alex looked up sharply, his face betraying no emotion. "I thought I told you to stay away." Lian ignored the sting of the words. "You don't have to do this, Alex. Not like this." Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's not about what I want. My grandfather needs me, and I have responsibilities to him. Responsibilities I can't avoid any longer." "So you're just giving up on everything here? On your degree, your friends?" Lian hesitated, swallowing hard. "On us?" Alex's gaze darkened, the mention of us striking a nerve. "There is no use, Lian. There never was. Whatever connection we had ended the moment you—" He paused, closing his eyes as if to calm himself. "It doesn't matter anymore." "I didn't betray you," Lian said firmly, stepping closer. "I would never do that to you. I came here to explain." Alex's hand slammed onto the box, the echo reverberating through the empty room. "Enough, Lian. You don't understand how complicated my life is. This isn't some fairy tale where you get to swoop in and fix everything. My life isn't yours to fix." Lian's chest heaved, emotion swirling in a chaotic storm. "I'm not trying to fix you, Alex. You just what?" Alex cut him off, his voice cold. "Wanted one last story? One last bit of drama for your life? Well, congratulations. You got it. Now go." The room grew silent, except for the faint ticking of a clock on the wall. Hours later, Lian paced his apartment, his fingers anxiously drumming on the back of his phone. He had tried everything. Words, explanations, even anger. Nothing had broken through Alex's defenses. A knock at the door startled him. Elena, his best friend, stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "You look like hell," she said, crossing her arms. "I feel worse," Lian replied, sinking onto the couch. Elena gave him a pointed look. "I heard about Alex. You need to go to him, now. I tried. He's made up his mind." "Then try harder," Elena snapped. "If you let him leave without telling him how you really feel, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life." Lian looked up at her, hesitation in his eyes. What if it's too late? Elena grinned, tossing his jacket into his lap. "Then you'll have at least tried. Get moving, Zhang." Spurred on by her words, Lian rushed out of the apartment. The campus was quieter than usual as Lian sprinted to the main building. By the time he reached the parking lot, the sound of tires screeching signaled Alex's black SUV pulling away. "No, no, no," Lian muttered under his breath, chasing after it. But the vehicle disappeared around the corner, leaving only a cloud of dust in its wake. Lian bent over, panting as tears blurred his vision. His breath hitched as he whispered to himself, "He's gone." Elena called out from behind, her voice soft but urgent. "Did you catch him?" Lian shook his head, straightening up. His hands clenched into fists as a sense of helplessness overwhelmed him. He didn't even look back. Inside the sleek SUV, Alex sat rigid in the back seat, his hands gripping his phone tightly. His face was stoic, but his heart was a battlefield of doubt and regret. He opened his phone and stared at Lian's contact. A dozen unsent messages lingered in his mind, but no words seemed right. You okay, Your Highness? The driver asked. Alex blinked, his title slicing through his thoughts like a blade. I'm fine. But he wasn't fine. His gaze drifted out the window as the university receded into the distance. He could still picture Lian, his fierce determination, his unyielding belief in what was right. And now, he'd never see him again. Lian sat by the window of his apartment that night, rain streaking the glass. The faint glow of his laptop screen illuminated Elena, who had stayed by his side. He didn't even stop, Lian whispered, his voice hollow. I don't know why I thought he would. Elena placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. You love him, don't you? Lian turned to her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I think I always have. Then don't give up yet, she said. How? Lian asked, his voice tinged with hopelessness. He's gone, Elena. What else can I do? Elena smiled softly. Sometimes love means waiting. If he's worth it, he'll come back to you. Or maybe fate will bring you back to him. Alex sat in a quiet corner of the royal jet, staring out at the clouds. His phone sat untouched on the table beside him. The flight attendant approached him with a gentle smile. Your Highness, can I get you anything? No, Alex replied curtly, though his gaze remained fixed on the horizon. He thought of Lian's face, of the hurt and heartbreak etched in his expression when Alex had turned him away. Closing his eyes, Alex let out a long, heavy sigh. You were better off without me, he murmured to himself, the words heavy with sorrow. But deep down he wondered if he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. The soft hum of the TV echoed in Lian's apartment as Elena scrolled through her phone, lazily flipping through gossip articles. Lian sat by the window, absent-mindedly stirring his now cold coffee. Lian, you're going to want to see this, Elena suddenly said, her voice unusually tense. What? He asked, glancing at her without interest. Elena raised the volume on the television, and the headlines crashed through the quiet room. Crown Prince Alexander de Laurent to marry childhood friend Kira Adams after coronation. The words took a moment to register. Lian froze as images of Alex and Kira flashed across the screen. Kira was smiling brightly, her hand resting on Alex's arm as if she owned him. No, Lian whispered, his heart sinking. Elena turned to him. Don't let this get to you. It's not over until it's over. But Lian's thoughts spiraled. Was it over? Lian didn't remember how he ended up on the couch, staring blankly at the carpet. Elena sat next to him, her presence a silent anchor. It's true, isn't it? Lian finally said, his voice brittle. He's marrying her. Elena's face softened, but she didn't answer immediately. It doesn't mean you should give up. I can't compete with that, Lian said, gesturing at the screen, where images of the de Laurent palace flashed like a dream he could never touch. He's a prince. She's perfect. And I'm just... He trailed off, unable to finish. Elena grabbed his arm. No, you're not just anything. You're Lian Zhang. You're the guy who makes Alex smile when no one else can. The guy he trusted with his deepest secret. Do you think that connection just vanishes because of some flashy headline? What if I'm just fooling myself? Lian whispered. And what if you're not? Elena countered firmly. You're sitting here breaking apart over someone you love, so do something about it. The next morning, Lian woke to the sound of Elena rummaging through drawers. Her suitcase was open on the floor, and clothes were strewn everywhere. What are you doing? Lian asked groggily. Packing, Elena replied briskly. Packing for what? For the trip to de Laurent Palace, obviously. Lian sat up, startled. What? No way, I'm not... Elena cut him off. Yes, you are. You can mope around here and regret not trying, or you can stand up, march into that palace, and fight for what you want. Your choice. Elena, it's not that simple. Of course it's not simple, she snapped, shoving a jacket into the suitcase. But love isn't supposed to be easy. It's messy and painful and worth every damn second, if you care enough to fight for it. Lian stared at her, his mind reeling. The sprawling estate of the de Laurent family loomed in the distance as their taxi approached the gates. The air felt heavy with grandeur, the towering iron gates glinting under the sun. Lian's nerves tightened with every passing second. "This is a mistake," he muttered, gripping the edge of his seat. "Shut up, Zhang," Elena said firmly, smirking as she threw him a look. "You're here now, so no turning back." The taxi stopped in front of the gates. Guards in crisp uniforms approached, eyeing them skeptically. "State your business," one of them demanded. "I'm here to see Prince Alexander," Lian stammered, suddenly acutely aware of how ridiculous this sounded. The guard raised an eyebrow. Elena stepped in smoothly. "Tell him Lian Zhang is here," she said with confidence. "I guarantee he'll want to see us." After what felt like an eternity, the guard returned. "His Highness has agreed to see you. Follow me." Inside the palace, Lian's breath caught as he took in the sheer grandeur of the space. The white marble floors gleamed under chandeliers that sparkled like constellations. Every inch of the palace radiated power and opulence. "This place is insane," Elena whispered, nudging him. "Don't look so impressed. Remember why we're here." A maid led them into a grand living room adorned with silk drapes and gilded furniture. The space felt both welcoming and overwhelming. They didn't have to wait long. The soft sound of approaching footsteps drew their attention to the wide staircase. Alex appeared at the top, his royal attire only accentuating his commanding presence. His eyes fell on Lian, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. "Lian?" Alex said, his voice a mix of shock and confusion as he descended the stairs. Elena nudged Lian forward. "Go," she whispered, stepping back. Lian stood awkwardly, his heart pounding. "Hi." Alex's expression shifted, a guarded look falling over his face. "What are you doing here?" Before Lian could respond, Elena cut in. "You two need to talk, properly. I'll leave you to it." She turned to a nearby maid. "Can you show me to a guest room or something? I'll be out of the way." Alex's gaze followed Elena as she left, then shifted back to Lian. "I'm waiting," he said coolly. Lian stepped closer, his fists clenching at his sides. "I saw the news," he began, "about the engagement." Alex's face remained impassive. "Then you know what's happening. Why are you here?" "Because I can't let this end like this," Lian said, his voice cracking. "I know you're angry at me. I know you don't trust me anymore, but I need you to hear me out." Alex's jaw tightened. "You don't understand the world I live in. The expectations, the responsibilities, none of it leaves room for mistakes. And being with you, it's not a mistake I can afford." "That's not fair," Lian shot back, his emotions finally breaking free. "You don't get to make that decision for both of us. I stood by you when no one else did. I kept your secret. Do you really think I would throw all of that away?" Alex's eyes flashed with a flicker of doubt, but his voice remained firm. "My life is no longer my own, Lian. The engagement is set. There's nothing you can do." Lian's voice softened, but his desperation was palpable. "Then tell me this. Do you love her?" Alex faltered for a moment, his lips parting as if to respond, but he said nothing. "Because I love you," Lian continued, his voice shaking. "And if there's even a part of you that feels the same, tell me now, because if you let me walk away, I'll go, I'll leave, and I won't come back." The room fell into a heavy silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Alex turned away, his shoulders tense. "I can't," he said finally, his voice barely audible. Lian's heart shattered, but he refused to let the tears fall. "Then I'll go." He turned and walked out, his footsteps echoing against the marble floors. Alex remained where he stood, his fists clenching and unclenching as emotions churned within him. He looked toward the door, the sound of Lian's retreating footsteps fading. He whispered to himself, almost inaudibly, "I never wanted to lose you." But the palace walls seemed to swallow his words whole.